Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the Black Carnivore podcast. I'm really excited to have this guest on today. We have Haviland, who is a member of the Black Carnivore Facebook group and also an ex vegan. And she just has a really interesting story about how she, her journey in pursuit of health. I think many of us, most of us, are looking to be healthy, and we have, followed advice from people that we trusted, who we thought had good information, and sometimes that worked out, and a lot of times it didn't work out. So
Mhm.
we are here now and we are working on our health, and many of us are experiencing a great amount of success incorporating more meat into our diets and following a
Mhm.
carnivore diet. So I am here to guide you, to help you, to provide you more encouragement and support, and let you know that you are not crazy. You're doing the right thing, and I'm really excited to hear from Evelyn. So let's just dive right into it.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you for a platform for people like me and for other people who just want to have an alternative way. I say alternative because I mean, it's the extreme, right? Um, I mean, uh, I just want to say thank you so much because the pushback has been from the ex-vegan community has been it's been tough, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And, I hope to keep growing this community and convincing more and more people not to feel ashamed of their meat consumption. And I think that's like an
Exactly.
interesting thing that, many people are not able to stay with a vegan diet, but even when they come off, it's an aspirational diet for them. And so it's like, you
Hmm.
sort of stay on the verge of like, moderately healthy because, you keep dipping in and out of meat, but it's not ideal.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
go ahead.
Exactly. It's
So,
it's it's
yeah,
not ideal.
yeah. So tell us, what are you, how are you eating now, and your origin story? How did you get here?
Okay. So thank you so much for inviting me to tell my story on this podcast, and thank you for the Black Carnivore support group. It means a lot. Means a lot to someone like me. Being ex-vegan, it definitely means a lot. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm eating primarily meat and dairy products. So I've included raw milk, raw cheese, and uh, raw kefir into my
Is that
diet.
difficult for you to get, or do you live someplace where you don't have to, you know, like,
Well,
break the law or
fortunate, right? Yeah. Well, fortunately, I do live in a state where raw milk and cheese is sold legally here. So I'm fortunate in that regard. So no, I don't have to, break the law or have to do a cow share or or anything like that to get my raw milk. I usually make my kefir or fermented milk or something like that on my own because I have the kefir grains, or if I just decide to do some clabbered milk, I'll do it that way. But definitely fortunate in that regard.
excellent? Okay. So how did you get here? What's your story?
Well, I'll give you a bit of a backstory. In 2006, actually, is when I started my consciousness journey, and upon discovering or wanting to discover myself, I ran into veganism. And back in 2006, we're talking, you know, over 10, 12 years, 13 years, back, um, it was kind of this new phenomenon, you know?
So what were
So,
you, like 10 then, or what? Because we look pretty young.
yeah, I get that a lot. Thank you so much. No, I was actually in my early 30s back in those times. Wow, I was in
Okay.
my early 30s. Yeah, I was in my early 30s in those times, and I was just trying to, I was always that kind of that rebel with a cause, right? So there was not a lot of information back then, surprisingly. There was not, I mean, based on what veganism is now, as opposed to what it was back then, it's just it's like night and day. So I started that journey. I felt pretty good. I was kind of doing the junk, the junk vegan, because there just wasn't a lot of options out there.
Wait,
You
so
know,
can you define junk vegan for us?
okay. So junk vegan, from my perspective, is basically, eating a lot of processed, a lot of processed tofu and, processed hot dogs and things like that. It's just a junk version of what you would eat in a junk food regular standard American diet, right? The hamburgers, the hot dogs,
So
filled with
you bought a
cellulose
lot
and
of pre-prepared like vegan
exactly.
products at the grocery store. Gotcha.
Yes. Lots of that. Lots of soy, lots of tofu, um, lots of supplements as well. Um, my gosh, on this journey, I've literally tried every diet variation of veganism that you could possibly try, from Dr. Sabi to Dr. Morse to the 80-10-10 to, raw tofu. And towards the end, what they're calling end stage veganism now, I was completely fruitarian, and that's what set me over the edge. I was fruitarian for about 9 months, and about 9 of those months, I completely lost all of my muscle mass. Um, I was completely psychotic. I was telling my then friend at the time and my children, that I don't think that it's designed for the human body to eat food. I think I'm just going to live off the sun. I was really in a very psychotic state of mind, at that point in time, and the symptoms is just, I mean, I constantly felt this need to detox. I went on this, like, it just, for me it felt like, um I wasn't cleansed enough. You know what I mean? I wasn't clean enough. I always felt like I had to do some type of detox. I was going on 30-day fast and 10-day fast at a time, on top of not eating, and then when I did eat, it was just basically a fruit sugar based diet. So I was
So
about,
you were suffering a bit from orthorexia. That's an eating disorder where you're
yes,
overly pursuing like healthy or quote unquote healthy eating.
yeah, it was that bad. And I mean, I went from, I was 100 and I could barely keep on 110 pounds. And I'm a tall girl. I'm 5'8", I'm almost 5'9".
Wow,
Um,
that is
yeah,
really thin.
this really thin, bone thin, and a lot of people were worried about me. I couldn't really work because I didn't have the energy. I couldn't work out anymore. I didn't have the energy to do that. Um, I started experiencing, my lips were always very, very dry. My skin started to become pale. You probably can't see it now or notice it now, but I have a lot of red undertones. I've always been like a copper colored woman. I have a lot of reddish undertones. My skin literally turned yellow. I mean, it was literally that bad. I mean, my eyes were always yellow. So I knew that my liver was, failing me. And My friend, she just came out and said, like, look, maybe you need to eat some meat. Like, maybe, have you thought about the diet? Because for me, it was everything else except that. It was, I'm not living a clean life, and, I'm paying for all my sins. This karma, it was just this deep psychosis that I just couldn't get out of. Um,
Did
and
you see the doctor or the dentist during that time, and did they say anything to
I
you?
I did. I went to the dentist. I had some dental issues with my wisdom teeth. So I had to get my wisdom teeth pulled. I started to get cavities. I started to have enamel issues. I'm a person that I smile a lot, so my teeth are very important to me. Well, they're important to everybody, but I've always gotten compliments on how beautiful my smile was. But I started to see the enamel started to become very, very visible, very opaque with my two front teeth. I did have to have one of my teeth removed, and they actually wanted to remove four of my back teeth. Yeah, they wanted to remove them, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But one was just so bad that I had to get it removed. It was so painful. My periods, my God, they were so painful. I had constant back pain, lower back pain. It was hard for me to work. It was hard for me to function. I would literally just I suffer from anemia as well. There would be times where I would
Is that
literally,
from your menstrual cycle or just generally?
well, just generally, because it would actually be a bit worse after a menstrual cycle, just because you're losing blood, and I'm already not eating enough heme iron or anything like that. So it was just a suffer sandwich. It's just
Yeah.
suffering on top of suffering. And
I'm
my hair
surprised
was
your
always,
period didn't go away. I mean, you're so
I'm
thin.
yeah, I'm shocked too. I think had I gone a little bit further, it probably would have gotten to that point, because I mean I had been vegan for so long, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking 2006 here, you know.
Wow.
So, that's an almost 13-year journey at that particular time that I stopped going with a diet. So, um I had to come to a point of contention with myself and say, maybe it is the diet. Maybe just maybe it's the diet. And so I had this contemplative moment because, I was in a lot of denial. I mean, I was in denial about my weight. I was in denial about everything, the way I was thinking. No, I felt like no one understood me. I felt like I was the proverbial black sheep. Um, and their genuine concerns started to really weigh on me, my family's concerns. And I think part of my denial became um just it was really due to a lot of people coming to me at that particular time, because I was like one of the pioneers of being a Southern vegan. I'm from Mississippi. I'm a Southern girl. So to be Southern and to be vegan and to have all these people just kind of uh, proud of you because you're quitting meat, you're disciplined. I can't see how you do it. So I built a very uh, um, solid following, on social media because of that. And it was ego too as well. I mean, my ego it just didn't want me to face the fact that I may get some backlash. And so I had to deal with all of that. I had to deal with it all. And I just had to make that decision. I said to myself, I have to end this. I'm not well. I don't feel well. And I remember I remember Dr. Morris on one of his videos. He said that, someone that got off the fruitarian diet, they ate a potato and they died. And so that stuck with me. And I was just like, well, if I eat meat again, I'm probably going to die. I said, but if I suffer, I wouldn't want to live anyways. If I continue to suffer like this, I'm not going to want to live. So in 2018 is when I made the conscious decision to end my 13-year stint with my vegan diet. And I had my first burger and I hadn't looked back since.
That's interesting that you started with the burger. I mean, you might have. I don't. Well, I mean, what was that first meal like? When did How did you decide, and what did you do? Like, did you go out to a restaurant? Did you make it at home? What happened?
I went to a restaurant. At the time, I was living in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was actually traveling. Surprisingly, I was traveling from New Orleans to Jacksonville, Florida. And in my travels, I said, I'm gonna have a feast. I'm gonna have at it. So I went to this really, it's just a fast food restaurant where they sell um really good burgers, Angus beef, real burgers, Angus burgers. And I said, I'm gonna have two cheeseburgers today.
You
And
got two. You're like,
I got two,
I'm gonna eat meat today and all of it. Just
and
bring
I'm
me a
gonna
ton
eat
of
all
it.
of it. I'm gonna indulge. So if I die, I'm gonna die happy. Why
Did you
not?
have fries too and a bun, or
No,
was it just the burger?
actually, it was a burger, and I think it was a bun too. At that point, I was a meat eater. I wasn't too. I was very relaxed. You know what I mean? I mean, I was having carbs and I was having everything. I didn't care at that
I know,
point. Once
just
I
baby
broke it,
steps. You just start by
yeah, it
adding
was.
some meat.
Yeah, I mean, I was full throttle at that point. It was just full throttle, and then I started to see myself look better, and I started to feel better, and then I started to gain my weight back. And
Wait, so that night that you went from eating just fruit and then you ate two cheeseburgers, like how did you feel that night? Did you have a stomach ache or was it just like smooth sailing?
no, I mean, it was smooth sailing. I was more nervous that I think I was just more nervous at that point. Like I just didn't want to die. That was like,
Yeah.
that was my whole, like, I just don't want to die on my way to Florida. You know what I mean? So for me, it was I mean, I felt great. I felt great. Like there was no pain. There was no adverse side effects. I mean, I literally ate the burgers and I just didn't look back. Literally, I didn't look back. So yeah.
So then what? You started eating meat in 2018. We're now in
Mhm.
2021. So
Okay.
you were eating more meat. So what was happening? What led you to go this far with the meat eating?
So okay, so what happened was I got to a place where I've gained, I've gained a substantial amount of, well, I gained all of my weight back. I'm about 149, almost 150, but I'm very lean,
That's
a lot
still
of
slim
muscle.
for someone your height. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still slim. I'm almost 150 pounds, but I work out a lot. I do believe in, having a slim body mass index. I'm kind of anal when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's far from being like 120 pounds. You know what I mean? So I know I still
Yeah.
have kind of a ways to go. Um, so I just started eating all of my traditional Southern foods. I went back to New Orleans, and if you've ever, I'm not sure if you've ever been to New Orleans, but you can't. I mean, oh God, the cuisine there is just it's to die
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So I indulged, and I was very carb heavy, and so I started to notice that a lot of the symptoms that I was having, I'd say about 2018, 2019, well, the end of 2019, I started to get some inflammation. And I thought that the inflammation was from, me kind of, I don't know, from just transitioning from, because I was always sick. I was always sick on the vegan diet. It was just always something going on. I always had some type of cough. I always had some type of infection. It was just always something going on. And
And
so
well, while you were vegan and that was happening, did you go to the doctor or were you like treating at home with like echinacea and vitamin C? And did the
I
doctor
was
ever say, "Hey, you're in here a lot. Like, what are you doing?"
actually no, I was anti-doctor at that particular time because I felt like doctors are the devil, right? And so I was like, well, they're not going to give me the treatment that I feel like I need anyways. This is, my logic back then. Um, and I don't know. I just felt like I could cure myself. I just needed more time. I just needed more time to detox. I always felt like I just needed more time to detox, and my symptoms would take care of themselves. So I was never one to just go to the doctor or anything like that. Um, yeah, that just was never my thing. So yeah, I basically I just treated myself at home. I mean, I had every supplement that you could imagine. CoQ10. My God, it just it looked like a straight up pharmacy up in here, you know? So I
Yeah.
had everything when I was a vegan.
So
And
you were
then
sick all the time, and then by the end of 2019,
I
you
started to
said,
develop, yeah, I started to develop some of the same symptoms of, the chronic and, inflammation and things like that. And then I started to research, okay, how could I get rid of this with diet? Because I feel better, I look better, but I know there's some lingering symptoms that are still prevalent that I need to, get rid of. And then I started looking into keto. So initially I started looking into keto, and then I said, okay. So I started, following a couple of people who were doing keto, and they started talking about, how you lower your carbs, and going on a low carb diet would actually help with some inflammation. And I thought that was a good concept. So I tried it. And so I did that for a little while, and then it was like, okay, I mean, I still have these symptoms. So, what am I going to do? And so I toyed with that idea for a little while, and then I would go back to, eating a whole bunch of carbs. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Because, a little bit of carbs, what I've noticed for me is that it's still, even if you have carbs in your diet, still get a little hungry. I just always felt like I was never satisfied with a meal because the carbs just and then plus I work out a lot, so you hear a lot of conflicting information when it comes to carbs, right? They say that carbs give you energy in the gym, so I'm taking all of this stuff into account in addition to me wanting to heal myself. I'm like, okay, so what would be the next step? So I started digging a little deeper, going down the rabbit hole, and watching Sean Baker and Paul Saladino, and then lo and behold, I ran across your interview with Eden Fox. I think I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name, but she was a blonde. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name. But I ran across your video, and I was like, wow. Um, she's a black vegan. I mean, a black carnivore. Excuse me. She's a black carnivore, and she's telling her story, and she seems to be, doing fairly well. So, after gathering all of this information, and um, let me backtrack. I did go carnivore. Um, uh, I, I did go carnivore after I listened to Sean Baker. I did it for 30 days. It was like a 30-day challenge for me. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I think I went in for like, I did a 30-day challenge. I
and
think I
I just
stopped
want
at,
to interrupt for one second.
mm-hmm,
So,
yeah,
some people know, but not everybody, that I had a major problem with Sean Baker, and I found him to be very racist. And I actually created a video, which you can link up here.
oh,
So, for everyone who's listening to
okay.
this, definitely check that out. And I want to make sure that everybody
Oh,
knows,
wow.
But
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, wow.
this is how
I didn't
most
know
people,
that.
yeah, but this is, of course, how most people, hear about the carnivore diet through him and
Okay.
through others.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
important to know that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you. Because
yeah,
I mean, my whole goal was just to gain optimal health. That's been my whole, it's just, I've always felt like I just, if I can be immortal, that's just, I don't know, I just have this immortality. I mean, even though, hey, listen, we all got to go, but I want to live the most optimal life that I can live on this earth,
yeah,
right? We all do.
yeah.
But yeah, to get back to, I was listening to Sean Baker at the time, uh you know and Paul Saladino, and I was listening to a couple of other people who talked about the carnivore diet, and just the results, I mean, were just astounding. Listening to these people, and they were just talking about inflammation and how their inflammation just disappeared, and the satiety of the diet, and the simplicity of the diet. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. So lo and behold, after listening to Paul Saladino, Sean Baker, and all of those people, I did the 25. Well, I said I was going to do 30 days, but I only did 25, and I wanted to celebrate. So I
With the
fell
big
off.
cake.
I fell off with a cheesecake. Oh, I
Oh my
fell off with
God! How did I know that? I knew it was going to be cake.
it's cake. It's always the cake. Oh,
Yeah.
the devil's food cake, right?
Oh
But
no. So wait, how did you
yeah,
feel while you were doing the carnivore experiment? And then when was that? That was in 2020 or?
this was I want to say about three months ago, actually, about 3 or 4 months ago,
Oh, okay. So this was
actually.
recent.
So
Great.
yeah, it was recent. Everything. When I did the experiment, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just completely discipline myself. Absolutely no carbs, no sugar, meat and eggs. That's it. And I'm gonna have some dairy, meat and eggs, dairy. That's it. Butter. After 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, all of my symptoms were gone.
Wow.
Everything. After 2 weeks, everything was gone. All of the inflammation. I started to get inflammation in my hands, like my joints felt stiff. Um, I started to feel the inflammation again, just all over my body. Constant um runny nose or just stuffy. I always felt like I couldn't really just take in a full breath. Within 2 weeks, all of those symptoms were gone. So at that point, I
You were
had
like,
felt
I'm good. Let's time to have cake. I
it's
feel
time to have
great.
cake.
It's a
I
good
feel
time to
great.
have cake.
I feel great. Let's celebrate, right?
Yeah.
Good time to have cake. And then I fell off the bandwagon, and all of my symptoms came back, and I'm just like, you know what? I now I know exactly what my body needs and how to heal myself. And I'm glad that I went on that journey and fell off, because now I know I could gauge and measure what my body is rejecting at this point, and what is going to make me feel better. Because at that point, you have to understand, after 2000, well, I started to decline in 2008. My health started to really decline. So from 2008 to 2018, for almost 10 years, I was always just like in some health crisis. So for two after 2 weeks of doing carnivore, and I feel great, I couldn't believe it. No medicine, no meds. I'm not, you know what I mean? It just completely left. And yeah, I celebrated with cake. so 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 now I'm back on the journey. After watching you, I don't know, I felt that connection, just because you're black, and I just think that it hits home with me, just simply because to find someone that is strictly carnivore and that's black, it's like it's like a unicorn situation, right? It's just like, wow, I found another me. I found someone that I would actually want to you know do this journey with. And then when I heard your story, and I heard all the symptoms that you had, all the issues that you had, and how you cured it with this diet, I'm like, you know what? I understood, because like I said, after 2 weeks of carnivore, and even now, I'm back on. I think the day that I joined the group, I had been carnivore for about 3 or 4 days. I ended up having to go back onto some medication, unfortunately, because after the cake, I wanted to have everything, so I had to go back onto meds for a little while. Um, but now, that inflammation and all of that is gone down. I'm feeling better again, and I'm gonna give it another 2 weeks to really. I'm gonna this time I'm gonna celebrate with some bacon and eggs.
Well, my birthday is next week, and and I was thinking about how I would celebrate. So I'm intending
Yeah,
on getting a nice, maybe a nice roast or a nice ribeye, and I got some candles, and I'm gonna stick that in the steak. So no cake,
exactly.
no cake.
Yeah, yeah, no cake. No cake. I'm done. And if I decide to do that, it's like, I mean, it's self-torture at that point. It's like I know what I'm doing to
Yeah,
my body,
yeah.
So
And I like you, when I go off, it's like, it's like weeks because then I'm like, well, as long as I'm off, let me head down to that fancy donut store and let me go get this thing which I haven't had in years and I've thought about. And let me
yeah.
go get this, and next thing I know, it's like a couple of weeks. I am so inflamed,
Yep.
difficulty breathing. I feel
Yep.
awful, and it's
Yep.
like it's not worth. I don't want to give up that time again. And I think what you
Yeah.
describe, 10 years from 2008 to
Mhm.
2018,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
some pretty big things have happened. I volunteered and did tons of work on Obama's campaign. I ran for office twice myself.
Oh
There's
wow.
no way I would have been able to do that. Uh, or a person who's sick really can't do it. And I know my first
Yeah.
campaign was in 2013, and I
Okay.
was still quite heavy then, and it was so hard. I mean, I basically committed to myself every moment that I wasn't working, I needed to be sleeping because I had to. That was all the only way I could get the energy to keep going. But in
Exactly. Yeah.
2017, it was, I had lost the weight by then. I was keto and I was almost carnivore at that point. And,
Right. Right.
my level of energy and ability was just completely different. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine how you felt. And, I
Oh God.
wonder if you feel like there were things that you missed in that 10 years that you would have been able to do if you'd had the energy.
Yeah, I missed a lot of great moments in my life where I didn't have the energy to do much. So, those critical years of my son's life, my both of my children's lives, there were just points where I was too tired to do anything. I couldn't go to any games because I was just too tired. My boyfriend at that particular time would always take my son to his games, or I would miss out on just a lot. I mean, just time with my children, that time that you can't get back. um oh man, I mean, trips that I wanted to take because I was just too sick to do them, too weak, all I could do was sleep. So it was just a lot of just some simple moments in life, not anything I would say major, but just the simple things in life, just going for a walk.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would feel like it was a magnificent feat for me to be able to get up and just go for a walk. Like even that, when I on days where I felt semi good, to even do that was just a magnificent feat. So it's just,
Yeah.
it was horrible. It was horrible. And I put on the face, for everyone, because I felt like I was the face or this poster child for Black veganism, especially in the South. So I did. I put on that face. I pretended as much as I could, until the anecdotal evidence just showed, like, I was skin and bones. There's no way I can continue to convince people that this is the right way to live
Yeah.
if I look sick. So
Yeah.
I just had to come to the reality of it, and succumb to the truth. And it was hard. It was very difficult in the beginning. I mean, I remember when I made my first bone broth, and it was made out of chicken feet. And I almost didn't even want to do carnivore, just because of how mentally far gone I was. I felt like, oh, this is murder, this is death, but I feel good. I mean, that moment of contention that I had between, making that critical decision to, eat meat again. It's cool when the animal is, grinded up in your burger or whatever. That's fine. But when I had to like go and see the organs for myself, eating organ meats and the chicken feet, it was just like, do I have to? But once I got over that, it's been smooth sailing ever since then, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm content. I really am.
Yeah. So, what about your children? Were they eating vegan too? Did they continue to eat meat during this time, or did they think that, do they believe that a vegan diet is the best one, or what?
Actually, you know what's so ironic? I always wanted to give them that choice. I was never that rebellious of a vegan where I would force um force them to do it. At certain points, it was like, well, you know, if I'm gonna feed them what I eat and they're gonna eat what I eat. Um, but when they would go to their friends' houses or something like that, or you know, or I'd have chicken at the house sometimes and I'd feed it to them. But it was never a situation where it's like you're forbidden to eat meat. And, you know, if you go to your friends' houses and they serve you meat, you tell them you don't want it. And it was just, I didn't want that for them. I don't know. I felt like they needed to have their own choices. And how much could I control really? You know, because when they go to school, how much could I really control? You know, so I was kind of lenient in that regard, but they knew how I felt about about the diet at that particular time. But and they tried some recipes and they liked it, and you know, I mean, the recipes that I would make were great. Um, but I don't know. I just never. It was never a forced thing for me. It wasn't like, listen, I'm vegan, you're vegan, that's it. You know, so I wasn't strict in that regard with them.
Yeah. So, did you have a lot of like in real life vegan friends, or was that mostly online and social? And what happened when? Who were you with when you decided to have this burger? Did they say anything, or were they like, "Oh, thank God, I've been waiting for you to do this"?
Right. So I'm from the South, and um, you know, I was already to my friends, I was already weird just by not eating meat. I was the weirdo. I was the one at the cookout, always wanted to bringing my little, you know, garden veggie burgers or whatever. I was that person, you know. So when people actually, well, I'll answer your other question too. Most of my friends were online. Most of my vegan friends were online. I didn't really meet a whole lot of black vegans until towards, you know, 2016, 2017. People who were kind of coming into the lifestyle because at that point, veganism is everywhere, right? You know, whereas in 2006, it was just something that, you know, I mean, it was very far and few between, you know what I mean? But I had maybe one or two. I don't even remember them. I may have had one or two like real live personal people that I knew that were vegan. But I wouldn't necessarily say that they were friends. I just knew them. You know, I just knew them. And they were weird like me, thin like me, no structure, uh, mentally gone too. So, but yeah, and my friends who were my friends, they were very concerned about me. And so when I did have my first burger, they were definitely excited. They were just like, I can't believe, finally, I can't believe it. She's ending this.
So I'm just imagining them, going around in a circle singing, "Oh, happy day!"
Kumbaya, welcome
Yes.
home. Welcome
Yeah.
home. It
Yeah.
was, you know, and it was such a big relief because I didn't realize just how like worried people were until I had to come to that, you know, point of contention with myself. Like, this is not working. It's
Yeah.
not working. So they were very happy, and you know, I was
Yeah.
happy that they were happy, and yeah, and my I want to say something else about my mood. I was extremely agitated. I was the most, oh God, I mean, everything was a battle with me. Everything. I was always agitated. You know, the minute someone said something that I didn't like, it was just I don't know. I mean, I always felt irritated. You know what I mean? I just, everything bothered me. I was always angst, you know? But now I'm even keel. I'm calm. Um, I have my mood has stabilized a lot. Thinking about how psychotic I was as a vegan as opposed to now, it's like night and day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally night and day.
Oh, so what kind of pushback did you get from your online vegan friends? And I saw that you had a YouTube channel. What was the focus of that, and how many followers did you have, and what kind of pushback did you get there?
Okay, so basically, my YouTube channel isn't really carnivore related. It isn't. It's a very spiritual channel. Where I talk about spirituality and just inspirational
Oh, I want to
things.
come back to that after, but let's talk about
Okay,
this.
okay, perfect. Yeah. And so on one of my because at this time I had already quit veganism. I had already been done with the lifestyle, but I just didn't come out publicly and say anything. So I use my YouTube channel as a platform to talk about facing your fear of judgment, and that was the
And
introduction
I guess
to.
I'll put a card up here to link to whichever the videos you want me to link of yours.
Okay,
The one about
perfect,
judgment.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was facing my fear of judgment slash why I'm no longer vegan. And that video, as opposed to all of my other videos, I talk about a whole host of like spiritual things and esoteric meanings to things and inspirational stuff as well. Surprisingly enough, that video has the most views on my channel.
Wow.
That video still has over like 1,000 views. I only have about maybe 460 subscribers right now. I'm not as active as I should be, but yeah. So that video actually has still has the most views on my channel. I shared it with another YouTuber. She shared it on her channel, and then everyone came to my channel, and most of it was positivity, but a lot of it was a lot of backlash. I mean, they really came at me hard, a lot of them, and you did it wrong, and you feel happy killing and murdering animals, and oh my god, I mean, the typical vegan rage, right? The typical vegan rage. But I understood it from that standpoint because, in hindsight, when I look back at the things that I was saying when I was vegan, I was just as militant as the ones that were coming against me. That's why I said, I understand it. And I'm willing to face that fear because I faced the fear of myself. So
Yeah.
no one can guilt me. You can never guilt me for going back. And then I followed that one up with some before and after pictures a couple of months later, just showing people exactly why it's the anecdotal evidence. I mean, I was skin and bones in comparison to how I look now. So it's like a stark contrast. Really is. It's a stark contrast. And so I got a lot of pushback from the vegan community, and of course, I'm a murderer. I believe in torturing animals and all of that jazz that comes with the angry angry vegans. But
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me because, like I said, I mean, I'm in a space of contentment with myself,
Mhm.
and I did what I had to do for my health, and I will continue to do that. I will continue to believe in self-preservation. Um, that's just the bottom line, with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is the pushback over, or do you feel like people are still coming at you, or and
Um,
have you
I
had any other people who are now ex-vegans themselves come back to you and say, hey, what did you do? Can you help me?
yeah, actually, no, I haven't. surprisingly enough, a lot of the people that I influenced, they're still on their vegan journey. A lot of them, and they're, I guess, faring pretty well. And now I feel like now they have more support. You know what I mean? Because veganism it's a global thing, so they have more support than what I did when I started out. So I haven't really seen much. I was a part of one group, and I remember she was saying that she still has these cravings for salmon and stuff like that, for fish, and um, I started to give her some advice. This is back when I was vegan, and then she completely just cut out all the meat in her diet, and I ended up having to leave that Facebook group because it was a vegan group, and I think I lost her as a friend, too, because you know one thing about Black vegans, as opposed to, and I know extremism is real in the vegan community, but I think for Black vegans, I didn't I didn't really get it as harsh from the Black vegans as I did from like other races of vegans. Um, Yeah, so I mean, to answer your question, no, like no one really came to me and now they're ex-vegan or anything like that. But I know a lot of them are suffering. But I guess they just choose to suffer in silence, just like I was. I was suffering in silence. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to believe, Dr. Sabi, you know, could possibly be wrong because heaven forbid. I mean, just the fact that he's Black, and you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just puts him in a whole different, area of sainthood. And it's like, listen, like this guy was not, he wasn't right about a lot of things, you know what I mean, in terms of the diet. And there's just so many people now that I know that were actually online, not personally, but um, they were online and they said, listen, all of that was good in theory, but in practicality, some of these people have gone and left and went to Africa, and they live in Africa, and this practice just does not exist.
Yeah.
A vegan lifestyle, you're not going to find that in Ghana. You're not going to find it anywhere in Africa, and so, for him to have an Afro bio mineral supplement, line where there's actually no Africans who are practicing this lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
To come against that, it was just it was like, wow, I know I would get a lot of pushback, but I tried Dr. Sabi's diet.
Yeah.
I mean, it was $400 that I wish I could get back right now. It just didn't work.
Wow. I did not
It
know
was
it cost that much to do.
his package, his small package, a small therapeutic package is $375.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
that's on the short end. On the high end, it's $1,500 for a packet, and that's for a month.
And that's information, or is that like
It's
supplements?
it's it's supplements. It's supplements.
Yeah.
So you
You're
just
like eating
imagine
your weight in pills.
you're eating my weight in pills, $400, and the packet only lasted for a month.
Did you
So
feel better, or did you feel the
I
same?
mean, in comparison, at that point, it was like in comparison to I was already feeling like crap. So feeling better than a crappy day, it's like what like it's very hard to measure. I was already feeling crappy.
Yeah.
So
So it
I
didn't
wasn't
get you
feeling
up
any.
there to feeling good days.
No, it did not. It didn't get me to the point where I could just say this product works. This works, And so I couldn't
So
vouch for it.
how do we take our message to black the black community? Because I feel like and I too when I was in grad school, went through a period of, trying the vegetarian and then the vegan
Hmm.
diet, and I felt like, I mean, it's not only a decision about my health, but it's also a political statement. It's a way of
Exactly.
practicing social justice, and and
Exactly.
I understand and respond to this idea of not trusting the information we get from doctors, not trusting the information we get from
Yep.
institutions, because there is a very real history of racism. And on the other end, I
True.
see the stories we've been told about sugar and carbohydrates and everything also is, it's not good information. And so
Exactly.
I kind of, I get where our black vegan brothers and sisters are coming from, because I want to, um, I want to stand for our ancestors. I want to honor the struggles they went through, and I want to make the right choices that are healthy and good for our community going forward. But at
Right.
a certain point, I had to say, if I can't like get up and go out to the march or the rally, like, then I'm useless. I'm not part
Exactly.
of this battle. I am not
Exactly.
able to do anything. So,
Right.
achieving
Right.
optimal health to me is like probably the most revolutionary act that we can do.
That is single-handedly the most, because when you think about the health conditions, just think about the cost of diabetes alone. And then you add that up, and then you measure the percentage of people who are suffering with diabetes, and then you measure that with the black people that are suffering from diabetes. You think about the cost of that. Hypertension, heart disease, cancer. You know what I mean? That's running rampant in the black community. So it's like, you know, I get what you're saying too, because I feel the same way. I felt empathetic, especially, when it comes down to certain practices, certain farming practices. I do agree with vegans when they say, practices, and all of that, the way that they treat the animals in certain factory farms. I get all of that. I really do. And I get the history of even us as a people. How you know we were given the scraps, and just given the history of everything that we have gone through, like you said. But also, I have to think about the reality as well. Um, you know, we have to think about how long our ancestors lived, with what they had. You know what I mean? They had their own farms. They did believe in having meat in their diet. They weren't vegans.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
the reality. And I know that we say that we want to honor our ancestors, but let's you know let's honor them by being truthful. That's the first thing that we can do, and to stop pretending as if our ancestors didn't eat meat. I mean, you can go back on the walls of any temples and see that, you know the first hunter of the spear, and you can see all of that, and on the walls of Egypt, and all these caves. So this is our ancient history. This is what we practice. um and a lot of these new grain practices that we're doing now, that's actually the modern version of what we used to do. Because even back then they soaked and fermented their grains. We don't even do that anymore.
yeah.
So all of the ancient practices that we used to do in terms of how we stored our corn, and how we stored our grains or legumes, how we prepared food, even back then was extremely different. So if we want to honor our ancestors, let's tell the truth about how we did things. Let's go back to how we really practice things. Okay, let's just say you want to have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning. I mean, I'm not, but but let's just say that's what you want to do. Well, back in those times, they fermented, they soaked
Yeah.
their grains. You know what I mean? They fermented them to release that phytic acid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My grandmother, I just remember her canning and preserving things. You know what I'm saying, to make them last longer, or soaking them overnight, soaking her bread or grains overnight. And so I just feel like we need to get back to just truth based and evidence based um nutrition, and
Yeah.
stop denying that meat was a part of our culture, because it always has and it always will.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And just pay attention to your physical evidence. Like if you're not feeling good, I tried like for a good, I'd say a good two
Yeah,
years. I kept
yeah,
trying to be vegan, but I'd get a couple of days a week, and then it would just be like, oh, I gotta go to Carl's Jr. I don't know, I gotta go get some
exactly. I
wings.
love Carl Jr.'s. Oh my God, I love their burgers. They're
Yeah,
like literally some of the best burgers. Oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
And
you
I was
can.
doing this back in the mid to late 90s. So
Oh
you can
wow.
imagine there really was the
Yeah.
support.
Oh
And
right.
yeah, so people thought I was, crazy. And they're like, oh, that's, crazy heyday.
Yeah, it's a far-fetched idea. Trust me. I know it was like where are you coming from with all of this? Like, you don't eat meat, like you've eaten it all your life, like you're acting
Yeah,
crazy now.
yeah,
So trust me, I get it. It's a very it's the extreme on both ends, because it's like, when you're vegan and you don't eat meat, or you're a carnivore, you're black vegan and you don't eat meat, or you're a black carnivore and all you eat is meat. It's a tale of two extremes, right?
yeah,
So it's just like,
yeah.
I found myself
I
on
know
the
my
other end
family's a
of the
little
extreme.
confused. My family's a little
Yeah.
confused. One of my cousins was like, "Oh, I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel. What was yours again? It's about veganism, right?" Like, really, really?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's a tale of two extremes now, but it's definitely something that more and more people, as more people start turning to keto. I think keto is like, it's like the marijuana of I don't know how else to describe it. I'm
the
sorry.
gateway drug.
It's
A
the
gateway
gateway
drug.
drug. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a gateway drug, basically.
yeah,
So as more and more people get adapted to the ketogenic lifestyle, I think that will kind of segue into taking it a step further with carnivores. So I think we're on to kind of a good start with introducing these kinds of concepts to Black people.
yeah.
I think we're just a little bit slower to get on the bandwagon as other people. And so I just think that the more and more we do things like this, educate ourselves, educate other people through our experiences, and share those experiences, more and
Yeah.
more people will kind of gravitate towards it and say, hey, just like when I met you, it's like, oh wow, here's another Black, she's a carnivore. Let me try this again. Let me start over.
Yeah.
No more
Yeah.
cake. I'm gonna stay disciplined to this, and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I just think
And
each one teach
I
one.
get frustrated, because I think we're considering the vegan diet because our population is, we have a greater percentage of people who are very sick, and so
Right.
everybody is looking for a healthy option, and then this is the one that's presented to them, and so they say,
Exactly.
oh, okay, I'll do this, but then most, I think, are not able to do it. So not only are they making themselves sicker with that diet, they're
Right.
not reversing the original thing that sent them there. So that more than anything frustrates me, because I feel like
Yeah.
so many super talented, wonderful people are putting a ton of energy into a solution that's not working, and then
It's
all of the
mhm.
ways that they could spend that energy doing, bring about world peace, creating wonderful companies, making lots of money, building great nonprofits. None of that is happening because they're just trying to go to the gym, eat nothing, and live on air, and that just doesn't work.
It's it doesn't work. It's inefficient, and it's there are certain agendas. I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist if you will, but you know to find out that Bill Gates is like the number one farmer now. He owns all of this land now, and his slogan is "The future is vegan." Those are some. That's pretty scary. When you think
Yeah.
about it, and this whole push for more processed meats, and the more push that people are getting behind a lot of these celebrities. They're funding. They're pushing millions and millions of dollars into these anti-meat campaigns now. The
Yeah.
Impossible Burger, and the Beyond Burger, and all of these different things. And it's like, you know go vegan. And then now you have a lot of these protests that are going on, with the privileged vegans, that are causing a lot of pushback. I mean, I can remember when COVID first hit, and a lot of vegans were happy that some of the slaughterhouses were being closed down. They were just, oh, this is a big victory for veganism. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of pushback for the meat industry now, and that's one of the most unfortunate things now. It's like, now that people are coming on to this this carnivorous way of eating, it's almost like it's almost like you're fighting this rising giant now. You know what I mean? And so it's very hard. It's very difficult. And for me, I let people make those choices. And listen, you make the choices that you want to make in life, but if you start to feel like X, Y, and Z, just consider it. Consider consider the diet, and consider the alternative.
Yeah.
So that's usually my advice. I try not to, because here's the thing with me. I, you know, I've tried to straddle the fence with going from being this stouch vegan to now being carnivore. I've had to contend with that. So it's like, all of the people who have followed me who are still on their vegan journey, what can I really tell them? Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel conflicted with that, because
Yeah.
it's like, here I was, I'm part of the reason why you're in this. You're part of this
Yeah.
journey now, and for me to say, oh, I was wrong, and go back to, and they're probably feeling great right now, and you know what I mean. But just consider the alternative. In the event that you start feeling brain fog, or you start to feel lethargic, you start to feel weak, you start to get cavities, because vegan symptoms are real. Whether
Yeah.
people want to
I
admit
mean,
them or
I would
not, they're
imagine
real.
they aren't really feeling great, but people don't feel like they can say anything. But I know when I started
Exactly.
trying to do it,
Exactly.
I didn't feel great, but I just kept thinking, well, I'm not doing it right. I got to do all of these things, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it just never worked. And at a certain point, I'd have to say, like, it's not the fact that I don't have enough discipline. It's just it's not working, and I can't stick to it because it's not working, and it's the wrong
Yeah,
thing for me to do.
exactly. And I'm a very disciplined person. I mean, I stay dedicated for almost, 13 years.
Yeah.
And when somebody tells me that I didn't do it right, it's like, come on, man, come on.
Yeah.
For 13 years, if if your relationship isn't working right, a lot of times more people wouldn't even stay as dedicated to a relationship as long as I stay dedicated to veganism.
Yeah.
If it's not right for you, you have to divorce it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I just my hope is that like I said, we just get to a point where um information is equal. I feel like if the information of a carnivore diet was as equal as veganism, people would probably make that choice of going carnivore, because a lot of people like say this, I would go vegan, but I can't give up meat. How do you do it? And so when you have when you're able to look at your satiety and what you really desire, It is meat. It's, I mean, most people just, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that you crave. I mean, that's why they have all of these fake meats out. Why? Why would you, if this diet is so grand, and if it's just so much better for the planet, and it's, you literally, I saw the Beyond Burger in the store, and it looks like it's blood coming out of the burger. It looks like a bloody
Yeah.
burger. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand
Why?
that either. Yeah.
That is so that is so psychotic to me.
Yeah.
So psychotic to me. And it's just like, you don't really, I mean, you don't really get that effect on the other side. You don't really need to make a steak look bloody or look presentable. I mean, it's a steak,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I just think that the information, in my opinion, um, I think that the information needs to be fair and balanced so that people can make the best decisions for, for themselves. Because, the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration, I mean, they give us this pyramid to follow, right? I mean, grains are heavily promoted,
Yeah.
you know,
And
um,
subsidized.
and subsidized. And, it's like, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that
let
that's
me.
the that's, Go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. I wanted to ask about go back to your spirituality. How
Okay.
has that changed upon your incorporating meat?
That was probably one of the most difficult things, because when I was vegan, I always talked about, the torturing of animals, right? And how spiritually wrong that was. And me having to come back to reality, because I was gone, and I was one of those ones that didn't mind admitting that I was out there, But coming back to understand that the cycle of life is what it is, and I cannot go against nature because nature was designed a certain way, and I'm just a part of this whole macrocosm of order. I fit into that as, the number one predator. I didn't. There's nothing I could do about that. There's nothing. Me coming
Yeah.
into that acceptance of that point made me more and more comfortable with being spiritual, because now I understand order. I understand divine order. This is divine order. If it were not so, it wouldn't be this way. So for me, spiritually, I just came to that point of absolution with myself to say, hey, listen, this is, I have to have this in this order, because if I do it the other way, it's out of balance. I mean, if I'm trying to eat grass, wheat grass, and all this other stuff, I don't have the stomach. My stomach acid is just not going to break it down. But if a cow has that wheat grass and I eat that cow, I'm going to be nourished. If I eat, if I'm menstruating, and on the day that I'm menstruating, I have heme iron from the cow, the liver, I'm nourished, and I'm thankful to the universe and to God, or, I try not to put labels on things, but I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that that animal gave its life in order for me to have mine. So in that essence, I'm spiritual in that essence, because I understand the cycle of life, you know,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. And they say, oh well, animals don't want to be killed. Well, plants don't want to be killed either. That's why
I
they have
know. Nobody wants
phytonutrients.
to be killed. Like what?
No one wants to, no one wants to
Bacteria
die.
floating in the air doesn't want to be killed. It's
Right.
just.
Right. Yeah. Like the bacteria that goes into your body does not want to be killed. But guess what? Your body has natural killer cells called T cells, right? They're going to
Right.
go after it and kill it, whether you want
Yeah.
to accept that or not. Your
Yeah.
body is designed to kill off foreign invaders.
Yeah.
Animals are the
It's
same way.
interesting. It's interesting
Mhm.
how that the veganism has sort of inserted itself in the Black church, because I hear about more and more people doing the Daniel fast and kind of doing it for spiritual purposes, but also pairing
Mhm.
it with, and this is a health practice, and we are not healthy as people, and blah blah blah. But I'm like, but as I recall, when I read Daniel, that was that I mean, that fast was an opportunity for God to show his strength, where eating
Exactly.
this starvation diet allowed and was able to make Daniel be healthy during it. But it's like, that wasn't because the diet was healthy, it was because God was acting through him. So I'm like,
Exactly.
I mean, if you want God to act through you, great, sure. But like,
Right.
it's not that this is a healthy diet. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you go to the Black Church or if your friends and everybody, in your where you are, if that's something that you hear about.
Yeah. Well, I was unaware of the whole Daniel fast and the and why people are doing it. But I mean, when you think about certain scriptures, as you just mentioned about the Daniel fast, and you know, and about eating from the king's table, and how in the book of Genesis, God gave every herb bearing seed, right, and it shall be meat for you for food. I held on to that for the longest, as a vegan. And that was literally, my biblical and spiritual, well, I wouldn't say spiritual, but my religious reference, point of reference, when I would try to defend my argument with veganism. But, coming to a point of just realizing, well, listen, um, animals have their place here on earth, and some of them have their places on our plates. And I'm one of those people that listen. I mean, you know, I try to stray away from biblical references a lot now. Just well, in terms of food, because it can be interpreted anyway. I mean, it's a lot of things you're supposed to stay away from, but look at the benefit.
I mean,
Look at
the
the
Bible is not it's not an anatomy book. It's not,
it's not an anatomy book. It's not you know what I mean? It's not something that you can base all of your life on. It's really not, like you said, it's not an anatomy book. You have to look at anecdotal evidence at some point. You have to see what other populations outside of the Bible. Just look at a lot of African cultures, or long living cultures, who
yeah,
don't practice, a religious lifestyle or a Christian lifestyle. And you would see that a lot of them, they practice things that they've been practicing for hundreds and thousands of years. And that's how
yeah,
they preserve themselves. So it's like, I don't know. I just when it comes to biblical references in a contextual sense, when it comes down to food, I just I don't even bother with it anymore, because it's just like, well, if that's what they want to do, it's fine, but it's still not a strong enough argument, like you said. It's just not. It's
yeah,
just it's not an anatomy book, as you said. So
yeah.
I try to stay
Um,
away from it.
yeah. Well, one of the things that I heard people talk about a lot, with respect to spirituality and
Hmm.
veganism, was that eating meat is heavy and it weighs you down, and it impedes your ability to get connected with spirit, with source, to hear God or whatever. It's very
Hmm.
weighty and it keeps you weighted, and it's sort of
Right.
interesting because that kind of argument kind of echoes, I guess, some of the Gnostic arguments from early Christianity, where there's this sort of
Right.
this concept that materiality is bad and the spiritual is
Right.
good, and so
Right.
anything that connects you to the ground and to earth is not good. And,
Right.
and what was so ironic is that when I went carnivore and I started listening to my body and started responding to the signals it was sending me, it was almost like my ears opened, and it was like since I started listening to my body, everything was like, hey, now you're listening, I've got something to say. And it was like, I
Right.
did
You're
not
right.
expect my spirituality to deepen upon eating meat.
It deepened for me too, because I think for a lot of us, um, that hunger, you know, when you have a hunger, and that can go for anything. It doesn't necessarily mean food. But if you have a hunger for something, you're gonna do what it takes to satisfy that hunger. But when you're satiated, you're content. So the satiety of eating meat keeps you satisfied. It keeps you fulfilled because you don't have to constantly be searching for the next meal as you would being being vegan. You know what I mean? Vegetarian or whatever. So of course it makes you more spiritual because you have time to be spiritual.
I know. In the early days of carnivore, between meals, it was like, wow, I got 6 hours to not think
Yeah.
about eating. Yeah.
I woke up this morning about, I don't know, about maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I literally had a small bowl of um like a small bowl. I had 3 eggs. I had some Italian sausage with some grated up liver in it. I haven't eaten since this morning. That was my meal.
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
literally satiated. If I don't eat anything else today, I'll be fine. But well, I am gonna eat again. But I'm saying that satiation because of that satiety, excuse me, of having the fat, having that meat, having that substance, because that's what you need. You have to have substance in order for you to feel, in order for you to be fulfilled. That's with anything in life. That is your foundation. Meat is the foundation. It has all of the amino acids. It's the building block. That's your foundation. So once you have that foundation, you're fulfilled. And once you're fulfilled, you don't need anything. That's what makes it spiritual, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been really like an amazing conversation. We have
Thank
like
you.
covered the map, and I feel like I could
Yeah.
still ask you a million more questions, but we're gonna
Yeah.
have to wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. This was amazing. It was amazing. Thank you so much for this
Yeah.
platform. It makes me feel good going forward that that I could do this and I don't have to have the damn cake, at the end of my,
Yeah.
so
Well, it
I'm
takes
happy.
time. It takes time to get through
It
that. I mean,
does.
I definitely
Yeah.
had a lot of cheats my first year and a half, but
Oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah. Yeah.
But at a
So
certain point, it was like, yeah, I feel bad, so I'm not gonna do
yeah.
that anymore. Yeah,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And thank you so much again for this opportunity. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.